She saw his profile on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Handsome, successful, funny. Every message he sent made her laugh. By Friday, she was already planning their future. By the following month, she was hospitalized. And by the time doctors figured out what was happening, she realized she wasn't his first victim. She was just one of many. Let me tell you about Sarah, 28 years old, marketing manager, lived in Denver, had a good job, good friends, good life. The only thing missing was love. Sarah had been on dating apps for 3 years. Bumble, Hinge, Match, hundreds of swipes, dozens of dates, but nothing stuck. Guys who lied about their height. Guys who were still hung up on their exes. Guys who just wanted one thing. By 2023 she was tired, exhausted, honestly. Her friends kept saying your person is out there, but after 3 years of dead ends, Sarah was starting to believe her person didn't exist. She almost deleted the apps that summer, almost gave up. But then, on a random Tuesday night, scrolling before bed, she saw him. His name was James Mitchell. According to his profile, he was 32, a financial analyst, divorced, no kids. His photos showed a guy with dark hair, a warm smile, the kind of face that looked trustworthy. His bio said, looking for something real. Sarah clicked on his profile and read it 3 times. Everything about him seemed perfect. Too perfect, actually. She almost swiped left because of that. Something in her gut said it was too good to be true. But then she swiped right anyway. He matched with her instantly. Within minutes he sent a message. I know this is forward, but I felt like I had to reach out. You seem different from everyone else on here. It was cheesy. Sarah knew it was cheesy, but it worked, she replied. By 10 p.m. they were messaging back and forth. By midnight he had made her laugh so hard she cried. By Wednesday morning he had asked her to dinner. They met at an Italian restaurant downtown. When Sarah walked in and saw him in person, she felt her stomach drop. He looked even better than his photos. Taller, more charming, more present than any guy she'd met in years. Throughout dinner, he asked about her job, her dreams, her family. He listened. Actually listened. When he walked her to her car, he took her hand. I know I'm not supposed to say this on a first date, he said, but I think I just met someone really special. Sarah believed him. The next 6 weeks were a fairy tale. James was everywhere. Surprise flowers at her office. Text messages that made her smile. Dinner reservations at restaurants she mentioned in passing. He remembered everything. Her best friend Melissa tried to warn her. Slow down, she said. Something feels off. But Sarah didn't want to hear it. This was what love was supposed to feel like. This was the person she'd been waiting for. By week 4, James said, I love you. By week 5, he asked her to move in. Sarah said yes. The first month of living together was perfect. James cooked breakfast. James remembered how she liked her coffee. James made her feel like she was the only person in the world. But then around week 6, Sarah started feeling sick. It started small, a little fatigue, a mild headache. She thought maybe she was catching a cold, but the symptoms didn't follow a cold's pattern. She'd feel fine in the morning, exhausted by afternoon. Her stomach would hurt randomly. She developed a rash on her arm that came and went. Maybe you're stressed at work, James suggested. You should see a doctor. Sarah made an appointment. Her doctor ran blood tests. Everything came back normal. Could be a virus, he said. Get rest, drink water, it should pass. But it didn't pass. By week 8, Sarah could barely get out of bed. She was calling in sick to work, sleeping 14 hours a day. When she was awake, she felt like her body wasn't hers. James was so supportive. He brought her water, he made her soup. He held her hand when she cried from frustration. He was perfect, too perfect. You need more tests, James finally said. Your symptoms are serious. Let me take you to the emergency room. That's what he said, let me take you. The emergency room doctors took one look at Sarah's blood work and their faces changed. They called in an infectious disease specialist, then another specialist, then a third. Sarah lay in the hospital bed watching these doctors whisper to each other, and she was terrified. What was wrong with her? The infectious disease doctor finally sat down next to her bed. His name was Dr. Patel. He looked serious. Sarah, I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you have any reason to believe someone might have intentionally exposed you to a pathogen? Sarah stared at him. What? No, why would you? Your blood work shows markers for brucellosis. It's a bacterial infection. It's rare. And in your case it shows signs of deliberate inoculation, not accidental exposure. The room started spinning. What are you talking about? Someone infected you on purpose, Dr. Patel said quietly. The question is who? Sarah's mind went immediately to James, but that was insane. James loved her. James had been taking care of her. James was in the waiting room right now, probably worried sick. It couldn't be, Sarah said. It has to be something else. But the doctor's expression told her otherwise. The police got involved. They interviewed Sarah extensively. Detectives asked about her medical history, her lifestyle, who had access to her food and water. Sarah kept defending James. He wouldn't do this. He loves me. But the detectives had other ideas. They asked to review her apartment. They tested her kitchen. They found something on a bottle of vitamin supplements that James had given her as a gift, traces of Brucella bacteria, deliberately introduced. When they confronted James, he didn't deny it. He actually smiled. He told the detectives that Sarah was special but not special enough, that he'd infected 12 other women over the past 4 years using dating apps. 12. He called it his project. He said he was testing his ability to manipulate women, to see how much they would endure, how much they would forgive, how loyal they would be even while being poisoned. The detectives asked him why. James's answer was chilling: because I could, because they wanted to believe I was good, and because nobody was looking for it. He was right, nobody had been looking for it. None of the other women had connected their illnesses to him. They'd gone to doctors, they'd been misdiagnosed, they'd suffered in silence thinking they had some mysterious illness. Sarah had been the first one to get the right diagnosis, the first one to figure it out, and she'd only figured it out because her symptoms got so severe she ended up in the ER. Once police knew what they were looking for, they found the others, 12 women across 3 states. 12 women James had matched with on dating apps, 12 women he'd deliberately infected with brucellosis. Some had already recovered, never knowing they'd been poisoned. Some were still sick months later. One woman, Emma, had developed chronic pain that would follow her for the rest of her life. When detectives interviewed the other victims, they all said the same thing: he seemed perfect. He was charming, he was attentive, he made us feel special. None of them saw it coming. Detectives found evidence that James had studied infection methods. He had a background in biology. He'd purchased Brucella cultures online using fake names. He'd kept detailed notes about each woman, not just their names and contact info but their vulnerabilities. Emma was lonely. Sarah wanted to feel loved. One woman, Jess, was desperate for marriage. He targeted their needs. He fulfilled them just enough to keep them close. And while they were falling in love with him, he was deliberately poisoning them. His apartment had a hidden room in the basement where he kept his bacterial cultures, photographs of his victims, a journal where he'd written about each infection like it was some kind of achievement. James Mitchell was charged with 12 counts of aggravated assault, intentional poisoning, and biological terrorism. During the trial, he never showed remorse. He actually seemed proud. He told the courtroom that his victims were shallow, that they deserved to suffer because they believed in love too easily, that he was actually doing them a favor by teaching them that the world wasn't safe. The judge didn't buy it. James was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. But here's what keeps Sarah awake at night. James still has followers online, people who think he's misunderstood, people who have created conspiracy theories about how he was framed, people who message him in prison telling him they love him. Sarah recovered eventually. The brucellosis could be treated with antibiotics, but the psychological damage was different. She couldn't trust anymore. Every message felt like a threat. Every compliment felt like a setup. She left Denver. She moved home with her parents. She deleted all her dating apps. For a long time, she couldn't even look at her reflection without feeling angry at herself for being naive. Today, she's better. She's working with other victims. She's testified before Congress about regulating dating apps and adding safety features. She's turned her trauma into purpose. But every time her phone buzzes with a message from a stranger, part of her still wonders, is this the one? Is this the person who's going to hurt me? The scariest part of this story isn't that James Mitchell was a predator, it's that he could have been anyone. He looked normal, he acted normal, he said all the right things. And 12 women believed him. Dating apps are designed to make connection easy. They're designed to create matches based on compatibility and attraction, but they're not designed to protect you from someone like James, Someone who uses love as a weapon. Someone who weaponizes your own desire for connection against you. Sarah's story could be anyone's story. It could be yours. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, trust your gut. When something feels off, it probably is. And if someone is too perfect, too attentive, too exactly what you've been looking for, maybe ask yourself why. Because real love doesn't make you sick. Real love builds you up. Real love doesn't require you to ignore red flags. Sarah's person was out there, but it wasn't James, and she's still waiting. This is her story, but it doesn't have to be yours.